Okay, well, welcome to the Photobug, and we have a special guest who is a Photobug two-timer. He's been on the Photobug podcast in the past. Last time I got to actually sit down with him live, but this time we're doing it virtual live via Zoom.
Something like that.
Anyway, we got Ian Plant. Ian Plant, thank you for coming on the podcast. We always appreciate two-timers.
Oh, well, fantastic. I'm glad to be here. And, I think I'm better virtual than I am live.
I don't know about that.
So this is going to be a better experience for you guys.
I said I have more of a face for radio and a voice for silent movies. I'm not...
But you have a fantastic mustache.
Yeah, that's true.
More than I can say.
It's like a little gray caterpillar there. You look like you've got a little bit of going there starting.
Yeah, this is about as much as I can grow. I've been growing this for about 8 months now, and this is as far as it goes in.
Well, give it time. Mine, when I was younger, boy, I'm going to give this away. It was so light that I actually took a lead pencil and tried to color it in a little more. So see, I have a mustache.
Well, maybe that's what I need to do, a little mustache enhancement.
There you go.
Maybe there's a filter online or in Photoshop that will allow me to actually have cool facial hair.
Hair growing things would help. Anyway, it looks good.
Thank you.
In spite of what everybody says. I bet it looks even better live in person.
I don't know. He's got the lighting just right,
yes.
So, you know.
Yep. Well, anyway, thank you again. And for those that aren't familiar with Ian, why don't you go ahead and talk about you got a website. Yeah.
So I'm Ian Plant. I've been a full-time professional photographer for 20 years now. It's been a while. And I do primarily landscape and wildlife, though sometimes I dabble in some other stuff, kind of a jack of all trades, master of none type of thing. And so I, of course, have my personal website, ianplant.com, where you can see my photos and learn a little bit more about me. And then there is my photo education platform, which is photomasters.com. And on Photomasters, I've got lots of educational materials. There's ebooks, there's video courses, all dedicated to the art of photography. And also I interview a lot of other professional photographers so that people who go to Photomasters will get a variety of viewpoints on the art and craft of photography.
I also should mention that you have worked frequently with Rick Salmon. You're part of the half of the surf and turf team.
Yeah, so he's the surf, Rick Salmon, and I'm the turf, Ian Plant. I mean, it doesn't quite line up.
Salmon and Plant, man.
Yeah, so I bring the steak and he brings the sizzle, I suppose.
Okay. Well, we had a fantastic workshop, so I urge everybody to go out and check out Ian's workshop, because we were in New Mexico, was that 3 years ago?
Yeah, that sounds like maybe it was 3, maybe it was 2 years ago, maybe
2 to 3 years ago. Yeah, it was about this time of year.
Yep.
And
as a matter of fact, I'm heading back down there in just a few days. I'm going to be speaking at the Festival of the Cranes.
Oh, wonderful.
Very good.
Yeah.
Well, it was a fantastic, even though it was a bit windy, it was a fantastic workshop. Really enjoyed it.
I understand you have a book coming out, right?
Well, no, I have a new course that will be
coming out
okay.
soon.
Well, you're getting into astrophotography, is that correct?
Yes, my latest new thing that I'm dabbling in. And so the course is called Astrophotography Made Easy. Astrophotography is incredibly difficult and challenging, and it requires
especially during the day.
Equipment. Sorry?
Especially during the day.
Yeah. Yeah, I know people who are really serious about doing deep sky object astrophotography, and they've got these ridiculously expensive and complicated setups. Mm-hmm. But recently I learned about this new invention called a smart telescope, which takes all of that technical complication out of it and kind of automates a large part of the process. And so for the past year, I've been dabbling with using one of these smart telescopes to do deep sky object astrophotography. And I've kind of figured out the best way to use it and the best way to process the images, because there is a bit of a steep learning curve, even with this more simplified setup. But I figured it all out, and so that's going to be in my upcoming Astrophotography Made Easy course, all of the things that I figured out so that people don't have to spend a whole year figuring it out on their own.
Well, heck, that's even better than a book. So,
is this online, or is this
cool
going to
stuff.
be a in-person workshop?
No, it'll be an online video course.
Online, okay. So that goes onto your website.
yeah, watch it in the comfort of your home without your pants on.
Yes. Don't give away my secrets.
Yes, for astrophotography, because it's dark out, pants are completely optional.
That's true. Nobody can see.
Pantless.
There you go.
So you gotta, I assume, find a place with some nice dark skies. We have a place that I've gone to that's fairly close to us, a little bit further from you. You want to tell people where you are right now, where you're located?
Well, so I am in the outskirts of Minneapolis, and actually we don't have super dark skies here. I'm in the suburbs, so they're kind of like, medium dark skies. And, the thing is, you can do astrophotography even in areas with lots of light pollution. Of course, it's better if you're in an area that's really, really dark, but you can still get good astro photos even if you're in the middle of a city or living in the suburbs.
Cool.
But yeah, so I'm here in my home base in Minneapolis. And there's not much going on here right now. Winter has finally arrived. We had a very warm autumn, and now it's cold and blustery. So welcome to Minnesota in winter.
Of course, you got those. You got a lot less humidity in the air too. Clearer skies or clear air. No, it's not.
It has been. So the best astrophotography observations are during the new moon. So like basically you've got 2 weeks of the full moon cycle where there's a lot of light pollution from the moon. And then you've got 2 weeks where you don't see much of the moon or you don't see the moon at all. And for the past 2 weeks, it has been relentlessly cloudy here in Minnesota.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we have a park here. It's just over the border of Florida and Georgia, Stephen Foster State Park. And they have one of the darkest skies in the South. In fact, I was there a few years ago, and it was so pitch black at night. There was a new moon. I couldn't see my hands in front of my face. I had to use a flashlight to. If I moved, I would have tripped over the tripod. It was that dark. But the sky was just unbelievable. The Milky Way was incredible.
That's amazing.
So anybody that's in the South, that's someplace to look, and if you want really, really dark skies.
Yeah, it's kind of, it's something that I've got to reorient the way I think when I'm thinking about doing nighttime photography, whether it's a deep sky object astrophotography or just imaging the Milky Way, doing, starscape photography with the landscape underneath. Because all the types of things that I want for my landscape photography are just the exact opposite of what you want for nighttime photography. So I want clouds. I want epic sunrises and sunsets. And so you need weather for that. And of course, weather is not good if you're doing any imaging of the night sky. So
you want it all.
Yeah. So it's tough to do both at the same time. You kind of got to choose one or the other when you're looking at weather forecasts for areas and deciding where you're going to go. So, it's always the challenge of photography. You always have to make a decision about what you're going to do and what you're going to try out. And once you've locked into that decision, you're just at the mercy of the elements at that point. So it isn't necessarily making things less difficult. It's just sort of compounding the existing sort of ambiguity that you always have when you're doing photography.
And I'm kind of intrigued about the smart telescope. You got to tell us a little bit more about that, if I'm not giving too much away.
Yeah, well, I'll be doing a free webinar on it in just a few days, as a matter of fact. And that webinar will be posted on the site, so people who can't, go there live can always watch it later, where I talk about it. So I won't be I'm not going to give away any trade secrets. But there are a few companies out there making smart telescopes, and they're not very big. They're relatively small and portable. Like the one that I've been using is, I don't know, maybe about 2 feet tall. And so it's very lightweight. It's very portable, something you can fly with if you are going to a remote destination.
Do you use a regular camera, or it has a built-in?
Yeah, it has a camera built in. So it's basically all built in.
Okay, it's self-contained.
Yeah, it's completely self-contained. And you use an app on your phone to control the telescope. And the app allows you to pick a deep sky object that you want to photograph, and the camera will automatically find that in the night sky and focus on it. And so you don't have to do all this stuff that
Does it have a clock drive too that'll follow, or?
Yep, it tracks.
Wow.
So it completely tracks it for you, and you can use the app to choose your framing. You can zoom in tight on the object, or you can do like a wider field panorama mosaic, and the app automates all of that. And not only does it track the object, but it also stacks all of the exposures. So it's making a bunch of exposures. And so stacking your exposures, that's one of the technical challenges of astrophotography, because you're out there making hundreds, if not thousands, of these individual exposures. And then you're combining them, and you do this to increase the signal of the deep sky object. Like if you're photographing a nebula, for example, it's very faint relative to the stars. So you do these shorter exposures, but then you stack them together, and that improves the signal of the darker object that's in the background. And it also helps mitigate any digital noise. And so sometimes astrophotographers will do 30 or 40 hours worth of observations of a single object, and they have to combine all of those exposures that they make during that time, and they have to use these specialized stacking software programs, and it can be very time consuming and very, very difficult to do. The smart telescope automates that. So all you do is, whenever you're done with your observations, you just output a file that's already been stacked, and so then you just need to process the image, and you can process it in Adobe Photoshop. And so that just takes a lot of the guesswork and the legwork and all of this technical expertise you would otherwise have to develop. It just takes that all out of the equation. So you can focus more on the artistry of your images and less on the technical acquisition.
Well, so I guess we could call that luminance stacking then.
Yes, I guess it's kind of exactly, yeah.
So
interesting, very interesting. And the image that you get is, I assume, is it a JPEG or RAW or?
Well, it's what's called a raw TIFF file. So,
TIFF.
Yeah, like this all gets pretty technical. So it's a TIFF file that's output, but it's called a raw file because it hasn't been what they call stretching. So when you do astrophotography and you stack your images, you get this unstretched TIFF file at the end. And basically what that means is all of the data in the image file is way, way, way over to the left of the histogram. So the image looks almost completely black.
Oh, okay.
And then you have to stretch the histogram over to the right to reveal the deep sky object that you're photographing, and then you process that to make it look a certain way.
Yeah, the original Canon RAW files were actually TIFFs. My original Canon 1D put out TIFF files. That was It was a lifetime ago. It was back 2000, I think, 25 years ago. So yeah, TIFFs definitely contain or can contain the whole gamut.
Yep. And now you're saying that it's possible to do this in where there's a lot of light pollution. So have you been picking different sites with your smart scope to do some of this, or?
Yeah, so I do most of my photography in my backyard in where I live in Minneapolis. And so I'm living in the suburbs. And so basically we've kind of got like a middle level of light pollution that's not, as bad as a full-on urban area, but it's also not a dark sky site. And so most of my photography is just done in my backyard. And when I travel, if I know I'm going to an area where I'm going to have darker skies and the potential for clear skies, so when I'm doing other photography, I'll bring my telescope along with me. And during the night, I will set it up and let it run, and I'll make observations there.
Interesting. Well, in addition to the astrophotography, do you have any workshops coming up?
Oh, yes. So in 2025, I do have my landscape masterclass workshops in the Badlands of South Dakota. Badlands National Park is one of my favorite places in the world.
Ours too.
To do landscape photography. Yeah, it's amazing. Mm-hmm. And I love going there during the summer storm season. So May, June, and July. are when I typically run my workshops there. In 2025, I'll be there in May. And you get these amazing thunderstorms that come across. So you get these epic sunrise and sunset skies. It's really just one of the most, and you got all the colors and textures of the landscape. So it's one of the most amazing places to learn landscape photography. So I teach the really dramatic style of wide angle, near far, grand landscape photography to my students in my Badlands master classes. And then I return to the Badlands in September for my nightscape master classes, where we'll be focusing on doing wide angle landscape photos that feature the Milky Way. And so in the summer, you've got the storms. By September, you've got clear, dark skies in the Badlands, or at least, fingers crossed, that's what we'll get. And so it's a perfect time to do nighttime photography. And then, of course, in November, I'll be down in the bayou of Texas to be photographing the cypress swamps there as they turn beautiful colors during the autumn.
Wonderful. And again, you go out to your website to check out and sign up for these workshops, I'm assuming.
Yep, you go to ianplant.com and you can learn more about my workshops there. You can also learn about all my courses and also my workshops on photomasters.com.
And your Badlands workshop, where's that based out of?
That is in Badlands National Park, so it's based out of a little town in South Dakota called Wall. Literally called Wall. You guys are familiar with
Wall
it.
Drug.
Yep. Wall Drug.
I was going to ask if it was a wall, because you're not that far also from Custer State Park, and there's some wonderful places around that area. That's one, maybe another 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little over an hour to the western
Wall to
side.
Custer, it's about a 2-hour drive, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, last time we were there, in fact, Fred and I come back, it was at night, and for some reason our GPS put us on the back roads, and darn if I didn't hit a skunk on the way here.
Yeah, it is.
So
it's
watch
a little
for skunks.
dicey driving around the back roads at night in South Dakota.
Yeah, I
worst
don't know
thing
why
I've
it
heard about,
didn't.
I've had a friend who hit a cow.
Oh,
Wow.
jeez.
That must have
Yeah.
been fun.
Well, the first year I went
not
out
the
there,
cow.
I almost hit a herd of deer. I was coming back at night. I was staying in Deadwood, and these deer just came out of nowhere. And I was driving a I can't remember now, but somehow that I got the brakes on. I braced for impact, and the last I saw was one of the deer was, and these are the big, not the little whitetails.
The mule deer.
Right.
They were the mule deers, and
Yeah.
it was out on his hind legs up like this. And I saw it going by the window, and nothing happened. And when I realized I'd stopped, the deer were gone.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Well, and you
South
probably had some
Dakota-
close calls, because I did that on the interstate. 3 o'clock in the morning, I was trying to get back from where I was to get to the airport and turn in my little subcompact. And at the last second, I saw something up ahead, and I couldn't really, because it's very dark on the interstate there for the most part. I lit off the
And a lot of
gas.
construction
And
usually.
basically, there wasn't any there at that point, because we were far enough. I was far enough north. I really hadn't hit that yet, and so I almost got one. There were two of them, and they were to my left. And what they ended up doing was finally figuring out, oh, there's somebody coming, and they moved out of the way, so I barely missed them. And then go ahead and, but I was coasting the whole time, but I was still probably at about 50, 60 miles an hour, because I'd slowed down from, whatever the speed limit was. And I hadn't really hit the brakes because I didn't know what was going to happen next, and I didn't want to, I don't know, it was weird. And all I was thinking, I'm in a subcompact and I'm about to hit a mule deer, maybe two. This is not going to go well for anybody. So, but I missed, and it just gave me a whole new respect for the fact that there are a lot of wildlife there, and they just go wherever they're going to go.
oh yeah.
So,
Yeah, you
South
don't want to hit a
Dakota-
bison out there.
Well, I mean, South Dakota is such a premier destination for photography.
Oh,
I think it's
absolutely,
often
yeah.
overlooked.
Yeah.
There's lots of great wildlife. Of course, you got bison, you've got bighorn sheep. Whenever I'm out in the Badlands, I see all sorts of critters. Pronghorn and of course there's deer and prairie dogs and coyote and porcupines. I've seen badgers. I mean, it's really amazing.
Yeah.
And Custer State Park and the Black Hills are just fantastic
Oh, yeah.
landscapes. And then, as far as I'm concerned, Badlands is a world-class landscape destination. It just really gets overlooked by a lot of serious landscape photographers, but it's one of my favorite places in the world to go photograph. It's just, there's so much color and texture to the landscape. It's got so much character, and then you combine that with the Great Plains summer thunderstorms, the monsoon season, and like it's just an epic place to do photography.
And the last time we were together was in South Dakota. When you were our keynote speaker for the Black Hills Photo Shootout.
Yes, I had a great time. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. But you're right. It is in some ways an overlooked destination, and people should really start. And you've got the Badlands, but you've also got surrounding areas, as you said. You've got Custer. You've got a lot of different venues there that you can go to, both either a county or state or even national parks. It kind of blows me away because I never get to spend enough time there to see as much as I want to see.
And as long as we've been going out there too.
Yeah. So
well, a lot of people treat it as a drive-through state. They're driving through on the way to somewhere else, and so I hear it all the time. People are like, "Well, yeah, I was driving out to family road trip during the summer, and I stopped at Badlands for a day, and it seemed okay, and then we moved on." And it's easy to like drive through the state and think that there's nothing there because a lot of it is just open prairie.
Yep.
But every now and then there's a break in the prairie and you get something really amazing.
Like the Badlands.
And it's good.
yeah.
And also not too far from there, I think it's in Pierre, there is a interesting little national park, and it's a Minuteman silo, and the control station, which is underground. I think they only allow 6 people at a time to go in there. Like I said, it's a very small national park, but well worth it. But you have to sign up in advance.
Yeah.
But,
I think I tried to get in there once, but I wasn't able to.
It's definitely worth it. Next time you're out there is go online and you can book your tickets in advance. So.
And it seems like Ian should be able to get in there. We try, and there's like...
Yeah, they let us in, so certainly you should have no problem. Actually, poor Fred missed it because his plane was delayed.
Oh, I don't even want to talk about that. Yeah.
But definitely interesting.
You've probably had that fun stuff when you travel about, the plane got in late, but we're holding the gate for you. And you get there and, we closed the gate.
Yep.
They did that to us, too.
And
I've had my fair share of really bad travel stories. So.
Yeah, getting
I can
there
imagine.
is not half the fun.
So,
well, to sum this up, we generally ask all our guests, and especially workshop leaders like yourself, that if you have a tip that you would give a new photographer, even a seasoned photographer, what would that be?
Yeah, I've got a tip that I think is good for everyone, and that's shoot what is offered to you. I think that too often people, speaking of silos, when you're talking about the Minuteman silo, people too often get into these silos with their photography. They decide, this is the kind of photography I do. I don't want to do anything else. And I think it's a good idea to stretch your wings, to get out there and try new things. And I think that it's a good idea to photograph whatever is available to you. So if you're traveling and you're there for a specific purpose, but other opportunities arise, take pictures of those opportunities, take advantage of them. And if you're not traveling, if you're just home in your local area and you've got the creative itch, get out there and find out what's special about your area. And it may be a completely different type of photography than you're used to doing, but you should indulge in that. You should engage your passion and try whatever is available to you. So shoot what is offered to you. You'll make more images and you'll make better images. And it's great practice no matter what you're doing. If you aren't into street photography, but where you are has great street photography, do it, try it out. And you'll find that it'll make you a better photographer with whatever else you're doing, because it's going to force you to see the world in a new way. It's going to force you to be creative. It's going to force you to come up with a different solution to unlocking the visual puzzle that is our world. And it'll make you better if you're doing primarily landscape and wildlife. You can learn a lot from these other types of photography. So no matter where you go, no matter what you're doing, take advantage of the opportunities that are actually there. And it's great practice, and you might be surprised. You might find that you like something that you never thought you would like.
And we couldn't agree more. We talk about that as moving out of your comfort zone. and trying something new. I know Fred and I, our street photography and portrait photography is something that neither one of us do, but we forced ourselves with some other great photographers to kind of expand our horizons. So, yeah, great tip.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you just want to fill as much time as you have available with photography,
Yep.
because you can't always be traveling and you can't always be out there making images. And so I know when I'm home and I'm not traveling, I have this creative itch that I just really want to scratch. And so, sure, there's no beautiful landscapes in the Minneapolis area. There's not really that much wildlife, but there are other opportunities. So I take advantage of those opportunities whenever I can.
Well, great. This has
Very
been a
good.
great session. So we're going to put your workshop, your link down here to your websites, and urge everybody to go out there and check it out. And I personally can testify that your workshops are great and highly recommend people.
Well,
Check
thank
that
you
out.
so much. It's been a real pleasure connecting with you guys, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.
Real good.
All
And
right.
thanks again for taking the time. And next time you're going to be a 3-timer. Thank you, Ian.
Sounds great to me.
Hi, well, we hope you enjoyed our video, and if you did, please go down there and hit the like button, and please subscribe to us.
That's right. Leave a comment too. That would be great.
Yeah, and if you want to be notified about future videos, hit the little bell too.
Ding.